I thought I was just watching an affair unfold. Turns out my neighbor knew everything and was planning something much bigger. It started like any other Friday night in the suburban neighborhood of Fairfax, California, a small, quiet town just outside of San Francisco, where everyone knew everyone's business. At least, that's what I thought. I've always been the kind of person who prefers to keep to themselves. I'm more of an observer than a participant. So when the whispers started, I wasn't one to jump in right away. But this one was different. It was about Lisa, my neighbor. Lisa was the picture-perfect wife. She'd moved into the house next to mine about 2 years ago with her husband, Matt. They seemed like a couple everyone envied. Matt, a successful lawyer, was charming, always smiling and waving at people when they passed. Lisa was the same, always involved in the neighborhood book club, hosting the occasional potluck dinner. They were the couple you could always count on to bring warmth to a gathering. Everyone adored them. Well, almost everyone. I first noticed the change when the gossip started circulating about their marriage. It was a quiet kind of rumor. At first, it was just little things. People noticed that Matt had been spending more time away from home. There was talk of his extra work hours, which seemed strange considering he already worked long hours at the law firm. Some of the women from the book club started whispering about how Lisa seemed off. She wasn't showing up to events like she used to, and when she did, she looked exhausted, as though the weight of the world was on her shoulders. I didn't pay much attention at first. I mean, I wasn't one to get involved in other people's personal drama. But then, one evening, I saw something that made me pause. It was late, around 10 p.m. I had just finished watching a movie when I saw Matt's car pull into their driveway. He got out of the car with a woman I didn't recognize. They were laughing, clearly comfortable with each other. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe it was just a colleague or a friend. But then, as they walked up to the front door, I saw them kiss. A long, lingering kiss. Now, I'm no detective, but it was pretty clear that something was off. The kiss wasn't friendly or innocent. It was passionate. And then, as they disappeared inside the house, I felt my heart drop. Lisa had no idea, or at least that's what I thought. The next few weeks were tense. Lisa kept to herself even more, and Matt's comings and goings became more frequent. But no one seemed to mention the woman. It was as if everyone was in on some unspoken agreement to ignore it. But I couldn't shake the image of Matt and that woman, the way they had looked at each other. One day, while I was mowing the lawn, Lisa came out to fetch the mail. She looked tired, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, a faded t-shirt, and a pair of shorts that had seen better days. She waved at me, and I waved back, but she stopped and lingered for a moment. I could tell she wanted to say something, but the words never came. "You okay?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She gave me a forced smile. "Oh yeah, just a rough week, you know." I nodded, not wanting to pry, but the silence between us felt heavy. Then, out of nowhere, she spoke up. "I think Matt's having an affair." The words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I froze, the mower engine sputtering to a stop. She looked at me, her eyes tired but sharp, as if she were trying to read my reaction. "Are you sure?" I asked, before I could stop myself. She shrugged, looking away. "I've been married to him for over a decade. I know when something's off." I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded, unsure of how to comfort her or if I even should. But she wasn't finished. "I caught him a few weeks ago, with her. I thought I was just imagining things. But then I saw them together. He's been lying to me. He says it's work, but I know. I know he's seeing her." I didn't know how to respond. On one hand, I felt horrible for her, but on the other hand, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was somehow involved. After all, I had seen them together. The kiss. I could have said something, but I didn't. I promised to keep it between us, of course. I wasn't about to start spreading rumors, but the guilt gnawed at me. I could see the pain in her eyes, but she was trying to hold it together. Maybe because she still loved him, or maybe because she didn't know how to let go. But she told me something that stuck with me. I know what he's doing, but I just don't know how to confront him. I've tried, but he always has an excuse. I told her to be strong, to do whatever she needed to do. But inside, I wondered how long she'd been in denial. How many more lies could she endure? Then, a few days later, I saw something that shocked me. I was coming back from the grocery store when I noticed Lisa standing on the front porch, talking to a man I didn't recognize. He looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. He was younger, probably in his late 20s, with messy hair and a look of concern on his face. They were talking in hushed tones, but I couldn't hear the conversation. As I walked past, I saw the man pull out a small envelope and hand it to Lisa. She took it, glancing around nervously before stepping inside. I had no idea what was going on, but I felt something wasn't right. I needed to know more. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about the envelope. What could it be? I had no idea, but my curiosity was eating me alive. Every time I saw Lisa in the yard or out in the street, I tried to act normal, but inside, my mind was spinning. The mystery of the man, the strange conversation, and that envelope, it felt like a puzzle that was just waiting to be solved. But I had to be careful. I couldn't just ask her outright, and I certainly couldn't be seen as prying. Lisa had always been friendly, but we weren't exactly close enough for me to just show up and start asking questions. Still, something in my gut told me that envelope wasn't just a random thing. Then, a week later, I saw something that made everything fall into place. It was early Saturday morning, and I was sitting on my porch sipping coffee when I saw Matt's car pull into the driveway. But this time, it wasn't just Matt getting out of the car. The same woman I'd seen with him weeks ago was in the passenger seat, her hand resting casually on his arm. As they got out of the car, I couldn't shake the sense that I was about to witness something bigger than just an affair. I watched as they walked up to the door, but just as they reached the porch, Matt turned to the woman and kissed her again, right in front of the door. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore. That kiss was the same one I had seen before, full of desire, full of confidence. And then Lisa walked out. She didn't see them at first, but when she did, I saw the moment everything changed. There was no drama, no shouting, just a stunned silence. Lisa stood still on the porch, staring at them, her face pale. For a second, I thought she was going to turn around and go back inside, but then she did something that completely caught me off guard. She smiled. It wasn't a sad smile. It wasn't a forced one either. It was calm, almost knowing. "Good morning, Matt," she said, her voice soft but controlled. "How was your night?" The woman next to Matt froze, looking between them as if she didn't understand what was happening. Matt, on the other hand, looked like he had just been caught stealing from a store. He stammered for a moment, but Lisa didn't wait for him to say anything. "I'm glad you finally found the time to bring her home," she continued. "I was starting to think you might be ashamed of her." Matt opened his mouth, but no words came out. It was as if the ground had shifted beneath him, and he didn't know how to recover. Lisa stepped back into the house without a single word more. The woman, looking more confused than ever, turned to Matt. "What just happened?" she asked in a low voice. "That's my wife," Matt muttered, a mix of guilt and anger in his voice. I couldn't hear what else they said, but I saw the woman shake her head as she followed him into the house. I sat there in stunned silence. My mind raced, trying to piece everything together. It seemed like Lisa wasn't just aware of the affair. She might have known for much longer than I thought. But that wasn't the end of it. In fact, that was just the beginning. The next day, I went to the grocery store, and when I returned, I noticed something odd. Lisa's car was gone. I hadn't seen her all day, which wasn't that unusual, but something felt off. I decided to take a walk around the block to clear my head and think things through. As I walked, I noticed something strange in the yard. Two bags of trash piled up next to the garbage cans. It wasn't unusual for Lisa to leave the trash out a bit early, but this time the bags were different. They seemed heavier. My curiosity got the better of me, and I walked up to the bags. When I glanced inside, I was hit with the unmistakable smell of something metallic. I leaned in, my heart racing, and there, at the bottom of one of the bags, I saw something that made my stomach turn: a pile of shredded paper. I opened the bag further and realized that the pieces of paper weren't just random trash. They were pages from a document. As I pulled more out, it became clear that they were financial records: tax returns, bank statements, receipts. But these weren't just any financial documents. These were Matt's documents. But there was something more. I found a single letter at the very bottom of the bag, folded neatly but torn at the edges. My heart skipped a beat as I unfolded it. The letter was typed and addressed to Lisa. Dear Lisa, I don't know how to explain this to you, but I've always wanted you to know the truth. I know about the affair, and I understand why you've done what you've done. I've known for a while, but I had to make sure you were ready. The money has been moved. You'll have access to everything soon. I'll be waiting for you when the time is right. I dropped the letter in shock. What was this? Who was this letter from? Why was it in the trash? And why did it seem like Lisa was orchestrating something bigger than anyone had imagined? I ran back to my house and tried to call Lisa, but there was no answer. My mind was spiraling. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that what I had witnessed wasn't just a failed marriage. It was part of something far more complicated. Lisa wasn't just the victim in this scenario. She was playing a much larger game, one I was only beginning to understand. And then the phone rang. It was Lisa. Her voice was calm, almost eerie. I need to tell you something, she said, as if she had been expecting my call. You were right to be curious. You've been watching all of this from the outside, but there's so much you don't know. Meet me at the park in an hour. I'll explain everything. I didn't know what to think. I had no idea what Lisa had planned, but something told me that whatever it was going to be far worse than I had ever imagined. I arrived at the park exactly 1 hour later. My heart was pounding as I stepped out of my car. The park was eerily quiet, the sun setting behind the trees, casting long shadows on the ground. I didn't see Lisa anywhere, but I knew she had to be close. I kept my phone in my hand, ready for anything. After a few moments, I saw her. She was sitting on a bench by the playground, looking calm and collected, as though nothing was wrong. I hesitated for a second, then walked over to her. Lisa, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You wanted to talk? She looked up at me, her eyes cold, almost distant. Yes, I wanted to explain all of this. I sat down beside her, not knowing what to expect. She looked at me for a moment as though she were measuring my response, then sighed, her expression softening slightly. Everything you've seen, Matt, the woman, the lies, they're all part of a plan I set in motion a long time ago. I frowned, confused. What do you mean, a plan? Lisa turned to me, her eyes sharp now. I knew Matt was having an affair. In fact, I helped orchestrate it. I stared at her, unsure if I was hearing her right. You? You helped him have an affair? Lisa nodded slowly. Yes, but not for the reasons you think. See, Matt's a lawyer, a damn good one. He's been hiding money for years, laundering it through shell companies and cheating on his taxes. He's been pulling all sorts of shady deals under the radar. I've known for years, and I've been biding my time, waiting for the right moment. I was in shock. I had no idea where this was going. Why not just expose him? I asked, barely able to process what she was saying. I couldn't, Lisa said, her voice a bit colder. I needed more. I needed leverage. That's where the affair comes in. I knew he'd get careless, start getting sloppy. And he did. The woman he's seeing, she's a private investigator, a friend of mine. I blinked, trying to wrap my head around it. You, you hired a private investigator to get dirt on your husband? Lisa smiled bitterly. Not just dirt. We needed him to make a mistake. A big one. The affair was the perfect cover. I knew he'd get comfortable, and when he did, I'd strike. At this point, I was more confused than ever. But why me? Why tell me all this? Lisa's smile widened, and her voice dropped to a near whisper. Because I knew you were watching. You always were. You couldn't help it. You saw what you weren't supposed to see, and now you're part of it. I froze, realization creeping in. What do you mean, part of it? She turned to me, her eyes gleaming with a strange intensity. You saw the letter, didn't you? The one in the trash. I felt my stomach drop. You? You put that there? Lisa nodded, the corners of her mouth curling. I knew you'd find it. You were always so curious. And now you're in too deep. Matt's gonna pay for what he's done. But there's more at stake here than just him. The money he's been hiding, it's not just his, it's ours, and I'm not letting it slip away. I was speechless. So, what now? What do you want from me? Lisa leaned in closer, her voice low and conspiratorial. I need you to help me, to make sure Matt doesn't get away with it. The money, the corruption, it's all connected. If we don't take him down together, everything falls apart. I felt a chill run down my spine. Something wasn't right. Lisa's plan seemed too perfect, too calculated, and I wasn't sure I wanted to be a part of it. But before I could say anything, she held up her phone, showing me something on the screen. It was a video, and I recognized the footage instantly. It was of Matt, but this time, it wasn't just him. The woman he had been seeing wasn't a random affair partner at all. It was someone else entirely, someone much more familiar. The video showed Matt in a meeting with a man I recognized. My own brother, David. I felt like the ground had shifted beneath me, my heart racing as I tried to process what I was seeing. What is this? Why is my brother involved? Lisa's eyes gleamed, the smile never leaving her face. Because your brother's been laundering money for Matt, too. He's been in on it the whole time. My mind was reeling. David? How? Why would he do this? Your brother was the one who introduced me to Matt, Lisa said, her voice now like ice. He thought I was just a naive wife, but I've known everything for a while. The secret meetings, the shady deals. I've been pulling the strings, making sure everything went according to plan. And now, I've got you right where I need you. The blood drained from my face. My own brother was involved in all of this? Was I just a pawn in a game I hadn't even realized I was playing? Lisa stood up, smoothing out her jacket. You see, I wasn't just gonna let Matt walk away with everything, and I'm not gonna let you walk away either. I have the evidence, and now you're gonna help me bring it all down. You can either help me take control, or you can watch as everything you thought you knew falls apart. I sat there, frozen in place, as Lisa turned and walked away, disappearing into the shadows of the park. My mind was spinning, unable to make sense of it all. My brother, my neighbor, a web of lies, money, and betrayal. Everything I thought I knew had been a lie, and now there was no turning back.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and hit notifications. And if you like this video, press like button. See you in next Deep Reddit videos.